Okay, welcome to our webinar. And this is one and all, and this is our second webinar, which we are very excited about and thrilled to have all of you on. So let me take just a second to tell you about one and all and how we got started with this idea and who we are. Ray Blanchard, some of you know him, and Dr. Caroline Fuqua, some of you know her, and Joyce
Jeffrey?
and I were talking about what we can contribute in terms of our talents together, because we've been in the transformational work, business, spiritual work for a long time. And our work has been primarily about having people understand themselves in whole new ways so that they could live together and become
Jeffrey?
one and all. And in terms of one and all, it means that the all is one and one is all. And we came up with these webinars and our website to be a place for a spiritual recharging station. And so that you can have materials for inspiration, meditation, reflection, and evolution for members as well as non-members. So welcome. And tonight, Joyce Christie, who is a master NLP practitioner, is going to lead us through some work about NLP with the intention of us learning how to establish deep rapport, which is at the heart of all our effectiveness in communication. And
Jeffrey, can you hear me?
that's not only with each other, but with ourselves. So in a second, I'm going to give you to Joyce. And then so in the meantime, you're going to wait for a few more people, but just take out your notebooks and your pieces of paper and put everything away so we can give you our full attention.
Yes, Joyce. I didn't want to interrupt Betty. What did you want?
Could you hear me, Joyce?
Only when you came upstairs.
Okay, take it away, Joyce. It's all you.
All you, Joyce.
Good evening, everyone. Why isn't that? Can everyone hear me? Type in your chat box if you can.
I hear you, Joyce.
Good evening again, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is our second webinar. This afternoon or this evening, you're looking at the picture that's on the screen right now. First thing you'll notice is the top line, and what it states is a presupposition. And presupposition is to presuppose something. And in presupposing, we begin to think about how it can happen or manifest or the outcome that we want. So let's start by my giving you our intention for this afternoon. It is to give you an opportunity to hear and see and have an experience of NLP. How many of you have taken an NLP training or an NLP course or been to one with Tony Robbins or have used one online? Type in the chat box for me.
And Joyce, I just want to interrupt you.
Either attended or you're a practitioner or you're a master or you do hypnosis, any of that. It's a very
Joyce, turn your
powerful
speakers on.
piece of work that was put together by Bandler and Grinder many, many years ago. I believe it's about 20, 25, 30 years ago. And I took my first class 25 years ago. The reason I took the class is I wanted to be better as a trainer. When I first started, I thought I had to have all the answers. And I made it very difficult on myself and the people that I was training or I was doing the training with. And so by the time Monday morning came, I was definitely worn out. And so one day I was talking to a friend of mine who had done NLP, and I noticed the ease and how she was with enrolling people. It was very effective. So when I said to her, I want some of that. And so when it rolled around in Santa Clara, Betty and I hopped in the car for 4 months. And we drive down to Santa Clara, and we took NLP. And in doing that, I found that I was much more relaxed. I was much more engaged. I was also ready to be wrong, meaning I didn't have to have all the answers or make the people that I was working with get it, if you know what I mean. It was easier on them, and I noticed it was much, much easier on me. So the intention tonight is for you to gather or glean or hear some things or get a sense of NLP, a picture of it, how it could fit into your life. Now, I'll be on doing the most of the webinar tonight, and that'll be about 40 minutes or so. I'll be talking very quickly, and I know you'll have questions, so I'd like you to type those in the chat box, and at the end of about 45 minutes, we'll open it up, and Betty will be giving me questions that you've written, and I can get the questions answered, or I get some of them answered, okay? Type in your chat box again if you are willing to do that, because this is participatory. It's not just me yakking. As we're going along, as I said, type in questions. At the end, Betty will choose some questions and I will answer them. You might be wondering, what is NLP good for? I say it's good for coaches, it's good for relationship, it's good for trainers. I would say it's good for just about everything. It's applicable. Go back, Jeffrey. As you see this house that's in front of you, NLP starts with rapport. We must have rapport in order to have a sustaining relationship or have people relate to us and what we're up to. It's almost as if it happens like magic. And then we'll talk some about presupposition. Presupposition is the presuppose. Presuppose something is true. And the way I think about it is it's a context that I can operate out of in a conversation so that other people feel heard, they feel listened to, they feel I'm engaged with them in what they say that matters to them. And then there's outcome thinking. That's about as far as I'm going to get through tonight on this webinar. There's a wealth of information that is here, and I want to get in particularly the piece on NLP. So what is rapport? Let's suppose that building rapport is something you already do fairly well, and you're not even aware that you do it. Would it be useful to you to learn the skills that have been modeled and replicated by experts to, one, build rapport even quicker, easier, and more effectively? I get rapport. It's a basis for relating. This is like the ground of being of NLP. It's like the foundation of the house, if you would. It's like the foundation of a relationship. It can be visible, even though you may not think it of in those terms when I say visible. When you're with someone else, you will begin to notice if you're in rapport with them and they're in rapport with you. If they're not, then something needs to happen. Now, here's what needs to happen. If you know NLP, then I would say you then start leading, what we call leading. That's another tool that NLP uses. You start leading by doing certain things, and I have a PowerPoint in a moment that will show you what that looks like, what it is. Also, NLP is not about mimicking. It's about mirroring. That's another tool, if you would. That's another practice that you can have. Once you begin mirroring, that person that you're with will begin to pick up the cues. They will begin to shift. And then at that time, you might not be leading, you will begin to pace them. So if you take a look at these babies here, you begin to notice the rapport that they're in. Deep rapport, you'll notice that both are smiling. Look at their little hands and see where they're placed. There's something about them that they came in the world with. And what I'm going to assert is, or what I'll say about that is that we came in knowing how to build rapport. I think based on how we coded it or how we represent it in our lives, we forgot it. We forgot how to create rapport. And I think it's because we began to model how it was done in the world, and it wasn't done effectively, or it wasn't done in such a way that we could continue to duplicate that. And so creating rapport, if you think about, you've been around a baby, if you haven't been, the next time you're out, notice kids. Notice how they get in rapport with each other. They will do it maybe by touching. They'll do it maybe by looking into each other's eyes. They'll do it by holding their hands a certain way, such as the other person that's in front of them. They also may begin to sound alike when they talk. It's pretty powerful when you watch them and you know what they're doing. And it's fun too, guys. I don't want to make this sound like it's so heavy. Rapport is gained by mirroring and matching, pacing and leading. That's, again, it isn't mimicking. It's a mirror. And you mirror with integrity. Because if a person, I want to call it body language, but it's much different or bigger than that. If their bodies is in a different position than yours, doesn't mean that they aren't getting you. It just means that if you know NLP, you're practicing it, then you can begin to lead in the conversation. And so as you look at this next slide, what you will see is, take a look at this picture. Start with number 1. Look at the arms. Take the couple that's seated across from each other. Then look at 2. Look at the second position. Then look at 3. Then look at 4. Now let's go over to the other couple that's standing and look at them. Look at their arms. Even though they have opposite arms crossed, or one on each arm, elbow, you can see that is different. Look at their legs. They're not looking in each other's eyes. However, the body begins to speak. What NLP found out, or what Bandler and Grindle found out, is that it's 5% words, it's about 35% tonality, And here's the kicker that I didn't know, that it's about 57 to 60% physiology. So in the first webinar that we did, Dr. Fuqua Aziz talked about mentalism. And so being mental about this, you begin to notice perhaps what's wanted and needed by the other person when you're creating rapport. So again, if you know these tools, these practices, you can once again begin to lead. And I can promise you, they'll begin to align with you. They'll begin to get a sense that something is happening. A presupposition. The meaning of our communication is the response we get. So if you aren't getting the response that you want, you might want to change what it is you're saying. Communication is not about what you intend or about saying the right words. It's about creating experience in and getting a response from the listener. The bottom line is the response you elicit is based upon the other person's worldview. The quality of our lives is determined by the quality of our communication. So it doesn't mean that you need to talk any louder or you need to talk any softer. It might require that sometimes when you're creating rapport. And so as you look at these covers here, what I'm going to invite you to do is the next time you're watching television, maybe Good Morning America or The View, you can begin to see the ladies and see the people on Good Morning America or even the Today Show. Look how they're sitting. Look how they're standing. They are about being in deep rapport, especially the people that are the commentators. That's what makes it so magical about this. We'll cover some of the skills that are useful in rapport and building quick and effective rapport, that is. It's an ability to begin to notice what's happening around you, that you might need to shift, that you might want to be in deeper rapport with, especially as a coach, especially as a trainer, especially in your relationships, either with your spouse or with your siblings or with your children or whatever. Kids told me when I was working with them, what they did not get from their parents is that they didn't understand them. And what I would say that's happening was they had broken rapport, or the kids felt the parents had broken rapport with them. So therefore, they were not understanding, meaning the parents didn't understand how to get back in rapport, and neither did the kids. And so we have this miscommunication going on. Rapport is like money. You need it until it's no longer there. There is no more. In other words, when you're going broke in the relationship and this person isn't getting what you're communicating, then I say you're out of rapport. Does that mean that they are broken and you need to fix them? No, it just means that the person that has what we call requisite variety, the element in a system with the most flexibility will be the controlling element. That doesn't mean that you're taking charge here. It means that you know how to use this information so that the relationship stays on track, so that it works, so that they're having what it is they want and you're having what it is you want. Creating rapport. So you're ready to fire up various aspects of your life and your business. As a coach, as an effective communicator, you can get better at enrolling people, relationships, assisting others, so that you can assist them to have what they want. As a coach, I say that is your job, to assist people in having what they say that matters for them. As a business owner, people coming into the store, here's another way to look at this. You walk into the store is already set up to create rapport with you. Grocery store is the same way. Don't think that this is done randomly. It's set up so that if you walk into a store, a grocery store, for example, like Whole Foods, I love going there. What you create rapport with right away are the vegetables. That's the first thing that I see. And then the meat department is next. Or, excuse me, in Whole Foods down here where I am in San Rafael. The next place that is set up are the seafood. And then you get to the meat. And then the next place that you find that's set up are the soups, the salads. So most of those things, quote unquote, that are good for us are on the outside of the aisles. And guess what's in the middle aisles? The potato chips, the other thing that may not be good for us. So as I said, it's set up deliberately to create rapport with you so that you will buy. Same thing going into a clothing shop. Take Macy's the next time you go in there, or Nordstrom, any of those big stores. Notice how they set up. And what you will say to yourself is, oh, they're in rapport with me. They know what I want to buy or what they can get me to buy, like right away, or what I won't be able to walk away from. So is this making sense? If it is, type into the chat box. Keep going. I'm understanding this. I'm getting this. So in this next slide, you begin to see you can build deep rapport. It's trust and integrity. It's the foundation of neuro-linguistics programming. Or it's a way of relating. If someone is in resistance to you, it doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong, or vice versa. It's an indication that you do not have rapport. So at that time, you can stop. You can notice, perhaps, where do I need to go here? How can I reframe? That's another technique that you can use. How do I need to reframe what I'm communicating, or what I'm saying, or what I'm sensing or seeing, so that I'm in rapport with this person, so that they will begin to trust me again? So the presuppositions, again, is a context. And as I said, the context, you're presupposing that we all are responsible for creating our own experience. Even when challenging events that we cannot control happen, such as this person may be going off onto a tangent, or you may start to go back and forth, if you would. You and the other person already know that it's your responsibility for the responses to these events. Typically, however, we have much more control than they do, or we think they do. Another way of stating this presuppositions is we consistently create our own environment through our beliefs, filters, capabilities, and behaviors. So once again, we're presupposing that this person has all the tools, have all the information. They just don't know how to access that information. And for me, that was pretty powerful to know that. People work perfectly. People respond to their worldview, not reality. I remember as a trainer, when they weren't getting, quote unquote, getting it, I would just start wailing on them. It was their fault. They aren't getting it. then they would go into resistance. And resistance is only a lack of rapport with another person's map. So what I had to learn to do was begin to get an understanding of their map, get a sense of where they were coming from. What was it that we needed to do to be in this relationship effectively? People always make the best choices available to them at the time. But often there are lots of better ones, and they are just not aware of it. That's not something that we're taught in school. I remember being in school, raising my hand, and the teacher would call on me, and I didn't answer the questions correctly. And then perhaps the students began to smile or snicker. Well, what I made up about myself is that I was stupid, that I didn't have the right answer for the teacher. And so what I would do at that time would decide not to raise my hand. And I had a friend once that was coaching me, and he asked me a question that I had a breakthrough in my life that lasts me to this day. And that question was this: who told you you need to know everything? That to me opened up a whole new domain of possibilities. I went, aha, I don't have to have all the answers. What I can do is know that at any given moment in time, if I'm not understanding something or I don't know something, I can always assist. I can always ask, is this what you mean? Is this what you were talking about? Is this what you wanted me to see? So what you hear me saying right now, we'll get to it in a little bit, neuro-linguistics programming have what we call VAK. VAK means visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So let's do this. And suppose I'm doing a seminar right now, and I walked up to the board and told you we're going to do a 3-minute seminar. And the seminar is going to be based on outcome thinking. This is like the third rung of the house. Firstly, know what you want. Then have a clear idea of your outcomes in any situations. Notice it didn't say you have to have all the answers. Perhaps what you'll begin to notice now is behind every behavior is a positive intent. I have positive intentions behind everything I be, do, and have. Secondly, be alert and keep your senses open so that you begin to notice what you're getting, what's coming back at you, how the other person responded, what are they saying, what is coming out of their mouth. Are they utilizing VAK, visual, auditory, kinesthetics? And by the way, there are 5 representational systems that we operate out of. I just gave you the first 3. So the 4th one would be olfactory. And then the other one is gustatory, the taste and smell. So I'm not going to go into that because, again, it takes a while to get this set up, and it takes a while to begin to learn these techniques and begin to learn how to use them in an effective and powerful way. Thirdly, have the flexibility to keep changing until you get what you want. Again, I noticed myself as a trainer. I would get very annoyed, and even now I get annoyed when people aren't getting what it is I think I want them to get. So sometimes I have to step back and go, okay, Let me begin to discern, or let me begin to see, or let me get a sense, or let me hear what might be missing. So that again, I know NLP, I know these techniques, I know these processes, then I'll begin to relate to them in a different way. In a way such that, again, we have an effective communication. We have an effective way of relating. Communication is 5% words, 35% tonality, 6%, and that's misspelled, physiology. So what that's telling me and telling you is that we communicate through this whole system called our bodies. In the first webinar, Aziz talked about mentalism. And mentalism, according to the Kabbalah, the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. We are the all, if you would, or we're part of the all. And so being part of the all, that means we have all the ingredients within us, just as the same as the other person, to be able to communicate effectively and efficiently. Now, here's the part that I don't know if any of you, well, maybe you have, Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins made himself an epic, how shall I say, company through modeling. He knew how to use this masterfully. And if you are now getting that the universe is mental and we are held in the mind of the all, that means we all know it. We all know what I'm talking about. It's just that we have not had access to the information. And for me, as I said, I think that's pretty powerful. Here's another precept that goes along with that. The map, worldview, is not the territory. My world is not the territory, but sometimes we act as if it is. No map is more real than any other. People are like map makers. They make maps of their experiences. And that's what we all do to the best of our ability, utilizing how we have set ourselves up. By the time we're 80, by the time we are 3 years old, we have fully developed 80% of our brain, where we store all this information. And so we go through life, if you would, after 3 years old, coming up with ways, storing that information so that we can access it when we need it. But again, no one told us how to think. No one told us how to get to this information. It's kind of like we've been all as human beings stumbling around in the dark trying to figure it out. And I say we don't need to do that anymore. There's transformational seminars out here that you can go to learn how to be vulnerable rather than playing it safe. You can become a coach, or you can coach other people. There is a lot of work out here, bodies of work out here, that you can go and begin to learn how you can be in the world. And just perhaps having this knowledge of NLP, neuro-linguistics programming, can assist you in being even more powerful and effective with others. and with yourself, so that you can have what you say that matters. And so with this, once you have begun to understand and apply, you will have different outcomes. You will take on different activities. And I can say this, you will become even more flexible when it comes to having yourself understand how to go through the world and sharing with each other or other people, if you would, how their world can be different. Memory and imagination use the same neural pathways and potentially have the same impact. So I'm not saying that it's all a piece of cake, and it is. Rapport shows up in the way you look. That's the visual. So as I'm having conversation with someone, I will say, do you see what I mean? That's a predicate of the visual. Auditory. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Auditory. Kinesthetic. How does that feel? Or here's what I'm feeling. That's why I said I'm not going to take it to the other two. I'm just going to leave it in visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And people will say things sometimes, if you begin to notice, do you see what I'm saying? Now, if they do NLP, what they will say is no. So what have you done there? You've collapsed two anchors. That's two predicates, if you would, seeing and hearing. So if you separate those and say, do you hear what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? How does it feel? Or I feel you're getting what I'm saying. Is that correct? That will make a huge difference when you're communicating and you want to communicate effectively. So on this page, what I want you to do now, because again, I want to leave time for questions. Based on what you've heard me say, present, what you've seen so far, and you're getting a sense of NLP and its effectiveness, I want you just to type in which modality or representational system do you use the most? Is it visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? Type that in now for me. Okay, we have people typing away. And let me ask you this question. What's the evidence that you can now come up with yourself that you're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? This is a short time to learn what can be very impactful and useful in your life. Some people are saying auditory, kinesthetic. Some people are saying visual. Very good. Very good. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is the next time or when we finish with this webinar is if you're in the home with someone or you get on the phone with someone, it'll be better if it's live. And you have a conversation and you begin to listen to the predicates or listen to see or listen to hear the predicates that they're using, such as I see, I hear, or I got a sense of what you're saying. It's a lot of fun in doing this. And also, as I said, it makes for the other person wanting to be in dialogue with you because they're feeling understood. When I don't feel understood, I will go to a place where I will start to make up that I'm not being listened to, which is not true. So what I can do then is step back and see where I'm out of alignment, I'm out of rapport with what's being communicated in the relationship. I hope this is making sense to you. Think about the movies. Why do we go and see movies that are great movies, or people who've gone and seen a great movie? They got to come back and they will tell you, you got to see this movie. There is something about that movie that on that screen, because the people are not there, you're watching the screen and the sound system, and they are creating rapport, deep rapport with you. Let's take the latest version of Star Wars. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but we were all anxiously waiting for it to come out. And as I sat there watching it, I felt like I was right there as it was being filmed. I don't know about you, but I use movies because what some people will say, and I don't know if that is true, is that we're visual in this country. And in Japan, when I had the opportunity to work there, what I noticed was they are kinesthetic and visual. But I got kinesthetic as dominant. And then when you look around the city, you begin to see the lights and how it lights up. The first time I went, I felt like my brain had been assaulted. And that was because I was not programmed to understand the Japanese language. But at the same time, I had a feel for it. So I connected with that quicker than I did with the visual, if you would. As you notice, my cat here, he or she is saying, I don't know which one he is. It takes work to look this good. Anything worth doing well is worth doing poorly at first. Now, I know for some of you, that might not be a thing that you want to show to people, is that you don't know. And if you fit into that category, if that resonates for you, I'd like you to type it in. What do you notice when you get uncomfortable that you don't want others to know that you are saying about yourself? That might be something that you will learn to say, this is something I don't want to share, or this is something I don't want you to let you know about me. Because then I get to make up, quote unquote, I'm not okay. They don't understand me. Which is not true, by the way. They may not even have that map. So if they don't have that as a map, perhaps what they can do is go back, Jeffrey. They can be in conversation with you about how we can build this relationship so you feel that you are understood. So it takes work. And it's easy if you have the tools. It's easy. It became easier for me as a trainer when I began to utilize this in the people that I work with. I worked with kids for about 11 years, ages from 12 to about 18. They're real close to their experience. They're real close to knowing this stuff, if you would. So it was easier for me to work with them than it was with the adults. And what I began to notice was, in just asking them key questions about what happened, what were you not feeling at home, so that you started to make choices that was against the family values that got you out of the house. And they could go to that place immediately. And they would tell me one place that they would go to was they didn't feel like they were understood. So do you see how they were getting mixed signals? And the parents, when they would, the kids, when they would go out, the parents just wanted to know, where are you going? When will you be back? So that they could be at ease with knowing that you'd be okay out in the world. And so in a few moments, I'm going to leave this PowerPoint up, Jeffrey, so that we have some questions. And Betty is going to give me one or two because I promised not to keep you all evening. I'll take about 5 to 10 minutes. I won't get to all the questions. I'll be able to get to some of them. Jeffrey, would you go back to the house for me, please, while Betty is searching for a question? Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey is my go-to guy for this evening. All the way up to the house, Jeffrey. Tell someone to type in a question. Type in some questions. That's the slide I want, Jeffrey. Someone type in a question that you may have. Someone is saying to me, this makes sense. I have an easy time figuring out what someone leads with when I'm with someone. I have more difficulty with larger groups, especially including kinesthetic types. What's a good way to practice including all three types? When you go back to VAK, if you get a sense of where they are, if they are a visual, they will use those words, such as the predicates that I just said. Some of the predicates. There's a whole list of predicates. One predicate would be I see. Another one would be, if it's auditory, I hear what you're saying. Another one will be, I get a sense of, that makes sense. I get a sense of what you're saying. And so they will give you that information so that what you do or how you can continue to be in rapport with them is to use the language that they are using. Use the words that they are using. Does this make sense, Zachary? You're the one that asked that question. Somebody's asking me, how can you make this accessible? Betty, see if you can find that question again, please. How we can make this information accessible. As I said, I did a live training, my first one when I was a certified practitioner 25 years ago. And then about 5 years ago, I went back and I was certified as a master in neurolinguistics program. Some visual cues for V, for A, and for K. Okay, visual cues, they will tell you for, if a person, let me go back to, Jeffrey, can you find that group that's sitting? I'm doing two things here, guys. Again, as I said, it's, yeah, great picture. Somebody wants to know a visual. What will you need to do? You might want to look that person in the eye. I don't mean stare. You can look at them and have them look at you. From the front of the room, there are practices. If you are a trainer, there are practices that you can do. If the person is speaking, you can go to the opposite side. If you're in front of the room, you go to the opposite side. Then that means they will be on your immediate right. And then if someone else stands up, they may be on your left, then you go to your right. so that this way you are maintaining some kind of eye contact with them, so that they can see you and you can see them. Also, you're in front of the room. You might have people sitting with their arms crossed. That doesn't mean that they are in resistance. That might just means is that they are listening intently to you. And so what you can do if you're in front of the room is cross your eyes. We're back to pacing and leading. You can cross your arms as you're speaking, and then gradually let your arms come down to your side. And then as you look around the room, you might see other people sitting up straight, because it's magical. It's as if it goes around the room. They all seem to be getting it at the same time. So you will notice certain cues if they're visual. You will also hear them if it's auditory. They will tell you. They will say certain things like, I can't hear, I can't grasp. That's kinesthetic. If they say, I can't grasp what you're saying, that means that they're struggling, if you would, to get it. So you knowing this information, having these tools, what you can do then is step back and reframe it. Say it in a different way. Thank you for your questions. We've got another one. Which one?
How do you create rapport with an individual that you experience not being present?
Good question. How do you create rapport with a person if I feel they're not being present? So first of all, I would not make that assumption that they're not present. Are you with this person? Are you in the same vicinity? Can you see this person? And if you are, I would rather you presuppose that they are with you. They may not be aligned with your map of the world. Remember, we're map builders. And so they may build a different map than the one that you have. Remember, I said experience has structure. Their experience has structure. You may not understand it. And so as the lead here, and you're wanting to be in deep rapport with them, perhaps what you can do is remember that the meaning of your communication is the response that you get. You might have something to do with the way they are not showing up. That does not mean for you to beat up you about it. It just means that you are committed to being in deep rapport with this person. I hope I'm answering your question. We got about 5 more minutes here. What forms is it if you say, I don't understand? What are you saying? I don't understand. I don't feel what you're saying, would be my guess. I don't feel understood. If you remember Stephen Covey's work, which has assisted me in my life as a trainer and as a sister or family member, he said, seek first to understand before being understood. And so when I line this up with the NLP practices, I go, okay, let me understand where this person is coming from. And the better I can understand them, I can remember a precept. People already have all the resources they need. What they lack is access to these same resources at appropriate times and places. All they're asking for is, assist me to get in rapport with you. Assist me to communicate more effectively, or to be in this relationship more effectively with you. Another question here. How do you create rapport with an individual? Oh, okay, I just answered that one. What forms is it if you say, I don't understand? I answer that one. So understand, it's a way of feeling. That's in your body. That's not something you have to think about. So that's kinesthetic. So there's someone here, I said something a little while ago about your knowing NLP, and you are commitment to have the relationship turn out. Again, it doesn't mean that you're wrong if you aren't picking up exactly or communicating exactly what will have this person, let's say, understand you or see or hear what you're talking about. I am going to presuppose you both want to get on the same page. At least this is where I would come from. And so if I am leading here, I'm going to make certain that as I'm communicating, that you may be accessing information so that you can bring yourself into an alignment with me. Here's another piece that we won't go into tonight. People will use what we call eye accessing cues. If you look straight ahead for me right now, like you saw in the picture, yeah. If you see them looking, if a person is looking straight ahead, according to NLP, they may be talking to themselves. If they're looking down, they are, in fact, feeling the conversation. If they look up and they look up to the right, what they're doing is accessing the information. If they look up to the left, they're creating the information. So it's very subtle. As you're working with someone and you know this information or you know these techniques, you can easily have people be in rapport with you and you with them. In the training room, and I keep going back to it because for me, it became very powerful utilizing NLP there. When people have their arms folded, where I went to is that they're in resistance. Resistance is only a lack of rapport with another person's map. I wasn't understanding their map, where they were coming from. And so I would put that off on them. Now I learn to say to myself, I don't even have to say it out loud. There's something that I'm not getting here, self. So what might that be? And that easily I can begin to access that information. Because in that environment there, I am not the only one that's on that wavelength. Remember we talked about mentalism? In those four walls, if you would, there are minds in there that are with me and with you at the same time. And so it's mental. And so the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. So all of us are vibrating at that level. And that's one of the laws that perhaps when Dr. Foucault does another webinar, she'll talk to you about vibration. She'll talk to you about the other laws aside from mentalism. It's very powerful work. It's very different, if you would. And I'm referring now to the Kabbalion and the laws that Aziz talked about. If you haven't seen that webinar, I'll invite you to go on and review that, and then see how you can pair it with what we just did tonight. So what I want to say is thank you for being here. Betty's telling me to wrap it up. It's time to get off now. And I want to leave you or invite you to go on our website, One and All, www.oneandall.com, and go into our website and check out the things that we have in there, particularly the store. And in the store, you'll find CDs, you'll find books, you'll find cards, and you'll find many things that are on sale there. And I'm going to invite you to buy Assis's book. We call it Assis. So let me just call it Dr. Fuqua, keeping in that same genre, if you would. Buy her book. And the way she has it broken down will give you much, much more information than I can impart with you this afternoon. It's all in that book. She's got 2 books called Playing the Game and How to Play the Game. And then as you are, should you choose, if you would like to become a member, a premium member, if you become a premium member, sign up tonight. I will give a gift. And that gift will be 2 hours of coaching on NLP. So the first 2 people that sign up as a premium member, I will give you 2 hours each of coaching of NLP in the rapport domain. So again, the first 2 people that go on and sign up as a premium member, you will get 2 hours of coaching from me. And
That's oneandall.com.
the premium membership will tell you exactly how to sign up for that. And then I will get back to you. The value of my coaching is $500. So I'm letting you know I don't come cheap. So it'll be something that we can generate and create together. And as we go along here, we want to keep doubling our membership so we can get this that we are working on in this webinars that we're doing. More and more people engage with us, playing at the level of One and All. So once again, I want to say thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Betty. And thank all of you for being online with me this evening. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. And I will say I will see you, or we will see you, on our next webinar. So keep watching your email, and we'll be sending it out soon, our next webinar, what it's about and what it will be on. So once again, thank you and good night.
Stay on, everybody. I'll give you that information. Joyce doesn't have her speaker on, so she can't hear me. But the address is ONE hyphen, the letter N as in Nancy, hyphen ALL.com. The word one, hyphen, the letter N, hyphen ALL.com. That's where you
Are we out, Jeffrey?
Premium membership and or even free membership. But to get Joyce's offer, you have to sign up for premium membership to One and All, the community. So take care. Thanks again. Good night.